What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and we're back talking about more of the subclasses in the Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun book. This is the Winter Walker Ranger video. Again, I've made my peace with the Ranger. I've talked about it in the past. We're just going to review the subclass for what it is. We're going to follow the suit we did with the Paladin, which is what we'll go through the entire of the updated version of it in the new book, talk about that, and then reference back to any changes that happened from the last Unearthed Arcana where it appeared. So if you like this kind of stuff, consider subscribing to the channel, and let's go ahead and dive in. So here it is. Level 3, you're going to get Frigid Explorer. Biting Cold is the first feature. Damage from your weapon attacks, ranger spells, and ranger features ignore resistance to cold damage. I actually very much like that subclasses are starting to do this if they're tied to a specific thing. For example, we saw this in the updated Necromancer. Um, Granted, they didn't get access to that ability, I think, till level 6, but essentially giving you almost inborn elemental adept to some degree as part of the subclass. You also have resistance to cold damage, and Polar Strikes. When you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, you could deal an extra D4 cold damage to the target, which can take this extra damage only once per turn. When you reach Ranger level 11, this extra damage increases to a D6. Kind of odd to have it be so small, and also, like, it's not limiting you to dealing this damage once per turn. It's just limiting you to dealing this damage to one specific creature once per turn. So, like, if I hit this creature with an attack, I can deal the damage with it, and if I hit them with the attack, I can deal the damage to it. I'm guessing the reason that they're probably limiting this is because they're gonna pretty much assume that you're also casting Hunter's Mark, and they don't want you stacking up too many damage dice, I guess. I would probably remove the restriction that, it's once creature, you can only take this damage once per turn. I would just allow you to do it every time, but either way. You also get Hunter's Rhyme at level 3. When you cast Hunter's Mark, you gain temporary hit points equal to a D10 plus your Ranger level. Additionally, while a creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, it can't take the disengage action. This kind of makes sense, right? If you're marking somebody with ice or rime in this particular instance to sort of slow them down, that is one of the kind of fundamental things we see from cold damage in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Cold damage has a concept of cutting movement speed. In this instance, it's just blocking out a particular action that allows you to get some movement. So, yeah, I mean, listen, they built the class around doing Hunter's Mark a lot. So if you're casting it, it's just going to give you free temporary hit points. So can't argue with that. All right, then the Winter Walker spells. You're going to get Ice Knife, Hold Person, Remove Curse, Ice Storm, and Cone of Cold. Again, nothing too crazy here. Some good higher level AoEs, but again, your caster friends have been slinging those spells for quite a while. Remove Curse is nice utility, and then Hold Person is always good. And Ice Knife, again, not bad, but I feel like you're probably going to be using your weapon typically at lower levels. But at level 7, you get Fortifying Soul. As a magic action, choose a number of creatures you can see equal to your Wisdom modifier. Each chosen creature regains hit points equal to a d10 plus your Ranger level and has advantage on saving throws to Avoider and the Frightened condition for 1 hour, once per long rest. I mean, it's just sort of an AoE heal for your allies. So that's not bad. I'm trying to figure out what that has to do with cold damage, though. Your experience surviving harrowing environments allows you to bolster your allies. So you can just take an action and then heal up. And it does say that you can see. So again, even if these creatures are unconscious, technically they would still heal this if they're down or dying as well. You just have to be able to see them. Um, So, either way, I don't know if I would have made it once per long rest. I feel like you could do this a couple of times, and I might have, if you're gonna try to limit it to only being once, I would give it an option to recharge it by expending maybe a third level spell slot, something like that. Chilling Retribution. When a creature hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to force that creature to make a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, that creature is stunned until the end of your next turn, And while stunned, its speed is reduced to 0. Wisdom modifier times per long rest. This is very powerful, right? This is a retributive reaction stun. And a stun, again, as we know, stunned in 2024 doesn't cut your movement speed at all. Excuse me. This version sets it to 0. Again, the concept of it being cold damage. Frozen Haunt as your final ability here at level 15. When you cast Hunter's Mark, you can adopt a ghostly snowy form. This form lasts until the spell ends, and while you're in this form, you gain the following benefits. Once you use this feature, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest or until you expend a 4th level spell slot. Frozen Soul. You are immune to cold damage. Not a lot of things grant immunity to damages in 5th edition, so this is pretty powerful. And when you first adopt this form and at the start of each of your subsequent turns, each creature of your choice in a 15-foot emanation originating from you takes 2d4 cold damage. Again, no saving throw. They are just taking the damage, and it is creatures of your choice. And partially incorporeal, you are immune to the grappled, prone, and restrained condition. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take a d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or object. If the form ends while you're inside a creature or object, you are shunted to the nearest unoccupied space. So that's some more like out of combat utility there. But I would probably jump up the damage from 2d4 just to give you a little bit more, considering this is your capstone ability. It is triggered on you casting Hunter's Mark, though, so it's like it doesn't have its own resource. Well, I guess it does, because it's once per long rest unless you spend a 4th level spell slot. I don't love this feature. I don't know what I would do to fix it, but I mean, you could just make it tied to Hunter's Mark. Kind of remove that restriction to once per long rest. If this is just whenever you cast Hunter's Mark, you could do this. That makes it, much more viable of an option, especially because the only thing is like, yeah, the spell lasts until the spell ends. So even if you were to, so you would have this ability once per long rest, and if somebody hits you and you drop concentration on Hunter's Mark, technically that spell ends. So Frozen Haunt would go down. So I think because of the fact that, this thing can be lost potentially, um, I would just make it whenever you cast Hunter's Mark. But I think that fixes a lot of things, gives you a lot more usability, and then again, I might up the damage a little bit from 2d4. Again, I think the reason they're keeping it so low at 2d4 is there's no saving throw to avoid this damage. You just take the damage outright. So again, when it comes to subclasses for the Ranger, again, my issues largely are with the base class of the Ranger. But as far as this as a subclass goes, this is actually relatively solid overall. Again, a couple of nitpicks at the highest level, but not too bad. Let's go ahead and just take a quick look at the Unearthed Arcana. Frigid Explorer gets you the opportunity now to get to overcome resistance to cold damage, which it did not before. Hunter's Rhyme appears to be the same. Spells, I think, are slightly different. You now have Hold Monster, or Hold Person rather, as opposed to Pass Without Trace. Fortifying Soul used to be whenever you finish a short rest, you can pick creatures to give them that extra hit points. Now it is an action, but it is once per long rest. So this is almost to, it was still once per long rest even then, but it was when you triggered a short rest. Now you can just do this as an action, which is actually stronger because you can do it when you want to. Chilling Retribution. Let's see. It was on a failed save. The target had the frightened condition, and their speed was 0. The stunned condition is way stronger, so that's definitely an upgrade. And Frozen Haunt looks to be the same initially. Immunity to cold damage. Adopt this form. Each creature of your choice in a 15-foot emanation originating from you takes 2d4 cold damage. Yep, that's the same. And you have immunity to grapple prone restrained. Yeah, so that seems to be the same. So not many updates from the Unearthed Arcana. But again, I think there is still a little bit of work to be done to truly make this a, I think you honestly just remove the restriction from level 15's Frozen Haunt, and that fixes a lot of it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and I will see you next time for the Scion of the Three Rogue.